Welcome to MartialArtsNow.com. I am Pedro Bennett, the founder of MartialArtsNow.com, and today's date is December the 6th, 2015. And today we have a special guest, and our guest is Sijo Muhammad. Welcome, Sijo Muhammad.
Hi, thank you, my brother.
I would like to thank you for agreeing to be interviewed. You have displayed your skills and have shown perseverance as a martial artist, leader, and as a citizen over several decades, and you are to be commended.
Oh, yes, sir, my brother. And I thank you for having me and interviewing me.
Sure,
I think
no problem.
Yes, sir.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, MartialArtsNow.com, and I'm sure our audience is as well, is excited in having the opportunity to hear about your experiences. So I would like to get started. If you would please, sir, tell us about your training in the martial arts and martial art experience. Who are you?
Yes, sir. I grew up in a little town called Topeka, Kansas. And at the age of 13, I asked my mom if I could go and find a job. And she said yes, but nobody's going to hire me because you have to be 16. So I looked all day, and I finally found this Chinese restaurant that I went to, and I told the lady inside, I asked her for a job, and I told her I was a good dishwasher, I could mop the floor, I could clean the walls, I could do everything, and that I was a good worker. So she gave me an opportunity to work there. I actually worked there for 5 years, doing washing dishes and doing whatever I had to do. But I came after about a month. I came early one day, and they were doing martial arts, which we had no idea what martial arts was back in 1953. And this is when this was. It didn't exist as far as we knew about it. The name karate didn't exist to us. The word judo did, but not karate. So when I saw them doing what I know as Tai Chi now, I looked at them for about a week. I'd go in every morning and watch them through the fence until finally one day I asked if I could do what they were doing. And they said yes. So I took Tai Chi for about 5 years. After that, I went to Okinawa after I'd gotten into the Marine Corps. I went to Okinawa and I took science, which is called Goju. And I didn't get a good base or foundation in Goju. Even though I made a brown belt, I wasn't even a good white belt because I would go in the field and be in the field for 3 and 4 months. And I would come back and only train, maybe be back for 2 weeks. And I would only train once or twice in the time that I was back. But they gave me a brown belt, I guess, because I was paying them for it. When I got back to the States and got out of the Marine Corps, well, no, I hadn't gotten out of the Marine Corps. I came back to the States, and I was looking for a karate school, and I found Ed Parker's Kempo Karate. And this was back in the early 60s, around 62, 63, somewhere around. And I started taking what is known as Kempo, and I've been in Kempo ever since that time. And my instructors, my first instructor was Danny Inosanto. I know you heard it.
Most definitely.
And my second instructor, which I stayed with the longest, was Chuck Sullivan, which was also one of Parker's black belts. Under Danny, I made the rank of brown belt. Under Chuck Sullivan, I made the rank of black belt. And that is, and I've been in the martial arts now for 65 years of total time.
Oh, that's impressive to spend 65 years in the arts. That requires a lot of perseverance and a lot of dedication. You don't use a title, Grandmaster or Master or Soki. You use a different title. Why is it that? What title do you use, and why do you use that title?
Well, about 10 or 11 years ago, I received a proclamation for the title of Sijo. What Sijo means, it's on the internet. You can probably find it on there. But what Sijo means is founder or creator of his own art of fighting science. And the certificate says a complete and new science for fighting. But all Sijo means is founder or creator of a new science. I actually hold the title of Josie. And when I was given the title of Sijo, I was told by one of the great grandmasters that take 5 years and have a good understanding of your new science and give it a name for your new science. But make sure that you have a good understanding and knowledge and a good understanding of that science. Well, it took me almost 11 years before I came into the understanding of what I really wanted to name it. And in between those 11 years, I named it 3 different things. I had given the name, but the name in which is going to stay, hopefully forever, in the martial arts community throughout the world, we get to know that science. It is called Kempo Thai Bok. And what that means is Kim stands for Kempo, which I use for my base or foundation. Wing stands for Wing Chun, which I use for trapping and center line. And Tai stands for Tai Chi, which I use for footwork and fluidity. And Ba, Kim Wing Tai Ba. Ba stands for boxing, which is American boxing, which I use for hand speed and targeting. And it is called Kim Wing Tai Ba.
And that's interesting. I didn't know that. But one thing I do think I understand is how did you contribute to the martial arts as it relates to the rear foot pivoting? If I'm not mistaken, you had some type of contribution to the rear foot pivoting. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. And that was I created that back at the time in which I was fighting. And I created it because the Kempo stance in which they gave to me hurt my legs so bad. And I dealt with that for a year. And each practice I would go home and soak in a tub and be hurting the rest of the night. I just couldn't figure out why everybody else could get in that stance and I could not. And one day I told Guru, Danny Anasanto, I said, Danny, this stance is killing me. I said, I can no longer do it the way I'm being taught. And he said, change it, Steve. And I said, my God, I've been going through this pain for a year and all I have to do is change it. And that's when I found that I put myself in that stance that they gave to me. And I raised my heel off the floor because that's what was hurting me. That took the stress off of both legs. When I turned my heel and faced it slightly in the same direction, but I didn't put my heel on the floor anymore. And I found that I could engage my opponent quicker than I could with both feet on the floor. It was like having a gun that's cocked rather than a gun that you have to pull through the trigger to fire. You understand what I'm talking about?
I most definitely do. I'm smiling as you were saying it.
Yes, sir. So my weapon and my movement for moving forward are backwards. The movement was already cocked to go in any direction. It's like the brain. The brain doesn't have any particular gear. It has one gear that can go in all the directions if you understand that.
Most
So if you
definitely.
get in a fighting stance that can allow you to do that, then it can be done. But yes, I created that. Even though some of the people today try to give that to Bruce. Bruce got that from me. If you look at some of his earlier moves, at the same time he came out, I was already doing that movement. So if you look at him before I met him in the 60s, he was flat-footed. I was on the heel of my foot. And we have pictures to show you that happened. And people are now saying that I did create that.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I've used that movement very, very often in my training, and I find it makes very good transition, particularly if you fight in multiple fighters. It allows you to move your center of gravity up and down, which I found to be very, very effective. You know, you're one of the founders of the BKF or the Black Karate Federation. Tell us about the organization. Why was it started, and what has been the organization's greatest accomplishment?
Well, when I was coming up and I was fighting, it was like I was alone because you could go to a tournament and they could have hundreds of people there to fight, but I never saw anyone that looked like me. And I found that as a white belt, I was able to win. As a brown belt, I was able to win. As a black belt, I was able to win first place in my category, which I was a lightweight. I could even beat the middleweight when you went for grand champion. But beating the heavyweight wasn't allowed by a black man at that time. And I found that as I continued to fight, and I fought for years, and I could never win the title of grand champion, even though I outscored the person that I fought. They would not give me a point to allow me to win. So I told myself, because the last time I fought, I won't give you the name of the person in which I went to and told them, I said, and I had trained very hard. I went and told them, I said that they cheated me. And the answer was, yes, I know, Steve. They're not going to allow a black fighter to win at this time. Maybe in the future, but not now. And I said to him, my time is now. And I was so hurt, and I was trying to put my chest out and not let them know that I was hurt. But as I was walking, I remember thinking one day and coming up because they were cheating me. And I was asked, someone asked me, Steve, how are you dealing with the pain of them cheating you like they are? And people knew that they were cheating me. And my response was, I'll change pain into skill. And I did exactly that. But I said that I was down at Chuck Sullivan's school, Big Cliff, Ron Chappelle, Jerry Smith came into the school, and they wanted to talk to me. And they said, let's get together and form a federation so that we will have a voice in the martial arts. And I had not seen any black fighters at the internationals. And if I did, it was like one or two or three. And I was really shocked when these guys came in. They were black belts. I was really shocked. And so they talked to me. And with Cliff Stewart, Jerry Smith, Ron Chappelle, Donnie Williams, Carl Amala, I think it was Curtis Pulliam was there. They called us the Magnificent Seven. We formed the BKF, which is called the Black Karate Federation. But we formed it so that the blacks could have a voice in the martial arts community, which we didn't have. Because back then, if your teacher didn't walk out and say something on your behalf, then they just dealt with you in the manner in which they dealt with us, which meant that they cheated us. So we formed the Black Karate Federation so that we would have a voice. Because when our children are fighting, we could walk in that ring and stop that ring and say, hey, you're cheating. Stop it now. And back it up if need be. So that's why we formed the BKF, to have a voice in the martial arts community.
And I really thank you guys for having an initiative to do that. And I think that is, needed, and I really appreciate that. I recall many years ago when I was back in the 70s or so, back in the 80s actually, when I was actually doing some research. I was doing some research, and some young lady was up in Chicago. I made contact, was talking about you. and she really shared a lot of detail about you. And that's when I really was turned into some of the things that you were doing, actually in the late '70s, early '80s. And again, I just want to thank you for that. But quick question: what do you think is the organization's greatest accomplishment?
That we were able to, we set up a school down on 103rd and Western. This was in 1969. From that school, we produced some of the greatest fighters in martial arts. Came from that school. We set up a school there that when we went to a tournament and something, they really didn't want us there. The first time we went about 300 strong, not all students, but families and siblings and whoever else that wanted to go with us from the black community that had joined our school. So we were able to go there 300 strong that day, and we went marching up to and we had the children kind of marching, and we went up to the door, and as we came up to the door, we were singing songs like, I don't know, but we've been told. The BKF is mighty bold. Am I right or am I wrong? The BKF is mighty strong. And that kind of scared because we were predominantly black when we decided to go. They didn't even recognize that we also had Japanese and Latino or Mexican brothers that were in our school.
Yes.
And there were also some whites that were in our school, that they weren't with us that particular day, but we had them in our school. But we named it the Black Karate Federation because we wanted to have something that our children would be proud of. But that particular day when we went there, they actually called the police on us, and we hadn't done anything wrong. And when they came up to us, they asked who was in charge, and I said, I am. I said, well, what are you guys doing here? So we came to fight in the karate tournament. He said, well, what's the problem? I said, well, I don't know. Why are you here? He said, there were some people here called and said that there was going to be a problem with a group of black people. I said, no. I said, my people are disciplined. They obey me. And I said, we didn't come here for a problem. We came here as a karate school to fight in the tournament. And so they sent for Mrs. Parker. And Ms. Parker came out, which is Ed Parker's wife. And she came out, and she didn't see me. She says, who's in charge of this group of karate people? And I said, I am. She looked over, and she says, oh, Steve, how are you? I said, I'm doing fine, Ms. Parker. I said, they don't want to let us in. She said, well, what do you mean they don't want to let you in? With 300 people, that's money. You hear what I'm saying? So there was no doubt as to whether or not they were going to let us in. But she's a businesswoman, so she says, oh, no, this is Steve. He can surely come in. I'm saying that he can come in. So that was our introduction as the BKF into the international tournament at the time, which was the biggest tournament anywhere in the world that we knew about, because the people from throughout the world came to that tournament. So it was the biggest tournament. And we cleaned house. You hear what I'm saying? They found out then, no, we do not want all these blacks in here. But as long as you were under the grand champion, you were allowed to win. They took everything.
Wow.
But not grand champion. Because at that time, I think that I may have been still fighting teams. I didn't fight for grand champion unless that was the time I fought Joe Louis. And they took it. I can't remember right now. But I was so proud and so happy because we brought home a lot of trophies. We brought home more trophies than anybody did. And I was so pleased with my beautiful students.
You know, I heard rumor one time your organization was like one of the biggest organizations that was in the United States at one time, the BKF.
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
That is correct. We went and worked out on our workouts through the week. We had, because we had to set them up in classes through the week, but we had probably somewhere about 50 students per class. on Saturday when we worked out, we had something like about 120 students
Wow.
that went to the park, you know,
Amazing.
and it was consistent. Sir?
Amazing. 100 students. Amazing. Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yes. That's outstanding. And it's a challenge to get 100 students these days, even in two dojos.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
most definitely. You were around, actively engaged in the 60s and 70s, no doubt. Throughout the racial rise, as you sort of mentioned some things about throughout the racial rise and racial transformation, racially, what are some of the negatives you observed previously that still exist?
Are you talking about the martial arts or just racism in general?
You know, let's go with the martial arts.
Yes, sir. Well, I don't go to the tournaments anymore, so I'm not familiar with what's going on. But I believe that because we have black champions, that that has changed. Where if you have the skill, that you're now able to become a world champion on your skill. But it was not that way back in the day. So I cannot answer how it is today like it was in my day. I can only answer it at that time. But
Okay, I mean
hopefully,
that's fair enough. That's fair
yes,
enough.
sir.
Now, quick question. As it relates to, you mentioned whether it's martial arts or socially. So let's go back to socially. Uh, what are some of the changes you've seen, or what are some of the negatives you saw previously as social events or social activity that happened back during the 50s and 60s and 70s that you still now observe during 2000 and 2015?
Well, I can give you what was happening in the 60s and 70s. Like they had a award, uh, Black Belt Hall of Fame, and they went into a room because they had so many champions like Joe Louis and uh, Bill Wallace and Joe Anderson and Skipper Mullins. And they had a lot of champions back then, but I was the only one that was really known as a black champion. And they went into a room and they were talking about between Joe Louis and Chuck Norris, and they were the main ones they were talking about. And there was a guy that I knew that I have the greatest of respect for by the name of Dan Anderson. And Dan got up, if I remember this correctly, and said, "Who is the most feared man in martial arts?" But they were going to give the Black Belt award out to the best fighter. And Dan asked, he said, "Who is the most feared man in fighting uh, during our time?" And nobody said anything. So he said, "Well, I'll say it if nobody else will say it." He said, "It's Steve Sanders. He is the most feared man in the martial arts at this time. Nobody wants to fight him. So if he is the most feared man, then he should be able to receive the award of the best fighter at this time." Well, that didn't happen. They still didn't give it to him. Now, I don't believe, and I don't believe that that is happening uh, today, because I see black champions, and I've seen a lot of them. I saw black champions uh, um, that came about in the late 70s, uh, maybe it was early 70s, I think 74, because one of my students by the name of Lenny Ferguson, which is known as Latif now, he became the first black international champion at that time, because they never allowed me to be the international champion. So I don't, today, I think that they have a good chance and are you know, the, uh, some of the grand champions that are of today. So I believe that that's Did I answer your question, or should I have to, you ask it again? Maybe I can understand it better.
No, what you did is you shared some of the, I would say negative, you could say political, because based on what you're saying is martial arts related and also political related. And I mean, of course, it's not surprising based on the time, but let's look for a positive note out of the situation. So what are some of the positive changes you observed as it relates to, let's give a try, some of the, uh, positive changes you've noticed in the martial arts today? I know you mentioned
Well,
that you're not doing tournaments and things like that, but based on hearsay or visual, what are some of the positive observations you've noticed as it relates to racial activity 2015?
well, I think uh, that karate people can go today to any school that they choose to go to, and they'll take you because you're paying money.
Mm,
And even back in the day when I was paying money, there were schools that we could not go to. They just wouldn't take us, you know. But today, I believe that they would take you in any school that you wish or choose to go to, because they're dealing with finance now. They're not dealing with race as they did before. Back in my day, they didn't care who you were, as far as well, they cared who you were. When you walked into a door, they would tell you right away that you're not welcome in the school. You
yeah.
know.
Did
But
you have any issues with reference to enter the building? I spoke to some masters and grandmasters. They had mentioned that some of the schools, some of the locations, they had to walk through the back door. Did you have the same issue?
no, sir, I did not have to walk through the back door.
Okay.
I was able to come in through. If I had, I wouldn't have went to that school. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten a chance to even learn the martial science from Parker School if he had sent me to the back. My grandfather taught me better than that. You don't go to no back door. If you have to go there, don't go.
I agree with that most definitely. Oh boy, boy. You train and teach the system of Kempo. Throughout the years, you have maintained good fitness. Uh, why is fitness so important?
So I think that it's important, not think, it is important because I became a police officer and I was in the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps taught me that if you want to be a winner, if you want to be successful, and particularly in something that's physical, then you must be prepared to go into that, whatever it is. If it's physical, you must be physically prepared, but both mentally prepared. And I found that also um, from not only being in the Marine Corps, but also coming into the martial arts, I had to maintain that because I'm still dealing with the physical. Going into the police department, I went to the academy. I also dealt with the mental and the physical in that also. When I got out of there, I had to go into the street and I had to deal with the mental and the physical of knowing what I needed to know in order to go home each night. And even now, at the age of 76, I weigh about 140 pounds. And I like to brag because I still got a few ripples in my little stomach, where I'm still, well, I'm still in shape and I can still fight. And the beauty of it is that you don't lose a lot, my brother, if you stay in shape. I cannot remember actually being out of shape. I think that when I did protective service with Wesley, I had to sit all day waiting for him to move. And I tried standing up, but I couldn't stand up and throw punches and throw kicks. So I had to do it when I went home at 3 o'clock in the morning or something when I got home. Had to be back up and be on the set by 7 o'clock. So I started my physical fitness as far as using my legs started to die a little bit. But my hands, I had a chance to go into the bathroom, not move around with my hands because I had to protect my client. But my legs were suffering from that. And even today, my legs suffer from not being able to use them when I was doing protective service. And they will probably never be like they were before because now I'm 76 years old. But I can still kick. I can still do a good roundhouse. I can still do a good heel thrust and a spinning back kick, and a ball kick. I can still do them. My better kicks, I won't tell everybody. My kicks are better in certain areas than they are in other areas because of my age. But I can still do them. But there are other things in which I can't. But hand-wise, I'm really good at that because I maintained that over the years. And even though about 4 months ago, I actually got in a fight. I won't go into that, but I would like to tell you I won it. It wasn't much of a fight because it was, it was, it wasn't much of a fight. I'll
But is it
leave it like that.
curious minds wants to know? most definitely. Whenever you feel like sharing, please give me a call.
Yes, sir, I will do that, my brother.
But
Yes.
really, last year I spoke with you and you shared a couple of things with me. It had been like 40 plus years when we spoke that you had meat and we were talking about beans and you shared to me the best type beans. I really want to thank you because I too try to stay in shape as well. I'm at I'm about 189 pounds and I'm like 54. I still do under a 12-minute mile and a half. I'd still run, but I normally try to maintain a good sense of exercise, like doing 100 jump ropes while stopping and blah blah blah. But really, what I really want to thank you for is the diet because it really makes a big difference. Oftentimes, I see particular people in Kempo. I don't know, since we use the hand a lot, I think people forget they have a lower part of their body, and they forget they're getting older and they gain weight. But I want to commend you because you have inspired many to keep a sense of fitness, and again, I can't help from thank you for doing so because I look at you and a few other masters and that's in the martial arts that truly maintain that fitness. So again, thank you very much on that.
Oh, yes, sir, you're more than welcome, my brother.
Right. You do not hide your belief. I appreciate that. But what role does your faith or belief play in your diligence and fortitude towards the arts?
Oh, my brother, it plays every role that I can actually think of because my grandfather brought me up to be a warrior, but there were certain things that he didn't understand, even about himself. And as I grew up on teaching in which he gave to me, which was as much as he could possibly give to me about being a warrior. But when I came into the nation, I had that my grandfather had given me as far as being a warrior, but I knew nothing about self. And what I learned in the nation was about self, who I am as a black man. And the only thing I knew about my history was that, from what they told me about the little poems that they had about black people, we knew about those poems. I won't go into them, but
Right.
they were all negative. And that
Right.
to see that white is this and how beautiful they gave the name of white and then how negative they gave the name of black. And I didn't know anything really positive about self until I came into the nation. And what the nation did was give me an understanding of who I am as a man and the history of where I actually came from. Not just Africa, I understand that. Not just Mississippi, I understand that too.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a rich and a beautiful history. We are the mothers and fathers of civilization, whether people believe it or not. Hell,
I
it
agree.
can be proven. You don't
Yes.
have to believe it. It can be proven that we are. But once I learned that, and I began to learn uh, of who Minister Farrakhan is, and Minister Farrakhan is a direct student of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, which I have learned was taught by God, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And people may or may not believe that. I live off of that. And I am a good Muslim, but I'm also a good Christian because I was a Christian before I had the understanding of Islam. And Islam made me a better Christian, even though I use the word Muslim. But I can debate and argue with any Christian as to whether or not I'm a good Christian or not. I won't go into that. But once I started to learn about self, there's something that I teach about the speed of human thought. They had me to go and actually study that. And the average speed of human thought is 24 billion miles per second. How do you use that in the science of fighting? If the brain can function at that speed, averagely. There was a guy up in L.A. questioned me on that. And he says, nothing is faster than the speed of thought. I said, yeah, that's 186,000 miles per second. But the speed of thought is 24 billion miles per second. He says, oh, Sijo, that's a little far-fetched. I said, go find out for yourself. Well, I was gone for about 4 months. I went back to L.A., and this guy was there. And when I was talking about the speed of thought, he raised his hand. I said, yes, sir. I said, don't I know you? He says, yeah, I'm the guy that you told to go research. He said, I did, and you were wrong. I said, yes, sir. Would you please explain it to the people that are in the seminar? So if I'm wrong, then I will absolutely submit to you. So he said, well, the speed of human thought is between 22 billion miles per second and 28 billion miles per second. I said, yes, sir. He said, see, you were wrong. You said it was 24 billion miles per second. I said that was average. I said some people think slow and some people think fast. You know, so everybody in the class started laughing when I said that. But he was trying to show me that I was wrong when I said average. And that is the average speed of human thought. Think about what you can do with that. Can you make thought and movement one? Can the body actually move at a speed of 24 billion miles per second? We don't know. And there's no way that I can actually prove that it can. But I know that your hands and your body can move at a speed sometimes that is so fast, you call it, oh, man, look at me. Look at my reflex. It did it so fast, I didn't even think. You don't make movement without a stimulus. It has to be a stimulus there, my brother, in order for you to move. Even if a car blow the horn and you jump, the horn was a stimulus. And the ears send a message to the brain, say, car. Now, is that car getting ready to run over me? That's why you jump and you look. That's a stimulus to the brain. Well, when you fight, a hand or foot that move towards you, if you understand the abilities in which you have, that is a stimulus. It will give you distance, angle, timing, and where he's going to hit you, which is the target. It will discern all that at 24 billion miles per second. And I'm going to stop teaching on that because that's not what we're talking about.
Well, actually, I'm sitting back and enjoying because recall I was a science teacher. I taught chemistry and physics there. But, you know, as of looking, I'm talking about the speed of light, which is 100,000 miles per hour. But to just imagine, you know, the speed of the mind, you know, which is amazing. Some people cannot even imagine that. What the brain processes is unfortunate. But, you know, one thing that I did want to step back and talk about, you had mentioned some things about the self. You know, often with my university students, I share to them that most people do not know who they are. And I say that because most people lie to themselves. You know, they lie to themselves due to the fact that they automatically accept what other people say without questioning those things or investigating, similar to what you said, investigating those things. And if we were to take one's past, one would not exist. This is why I think many people are lost, because of they don't understand their past. So if you want to create a culture of lost people, you steal their history, you steal their past. Because if the past doesn't exist, your now is questioned. You're not in the now, you are in the present. So the ideal is to put yourself in the now, which is understanding the relationship between the past, the present, and the future. And so if we can get people to understand that concept, I think that less people will become victims, and be happier people. Would you agree with that? Does that sound like appropriate logic?
Yes, sir. It does.
Yeah, yeah. Quick question. You mentioned that you're Muslim as well as Christian. What do you think is the greatest misconception about Muslims, and why?
I think that they, and particularly the Christians that I run into, and that's 90% of the people that I run into are Muslims. They don't believe that we believe in Jesus. And I said, yes, you do. Yes, we do. We cannot be a Muslim without believing in Jesus. And they asked me, do you believe that he's your Lord and Savior? I said, yes. I said, now, there are things that we differ in, but I said, just ask me questions and see what we agree on. My best friend is Bishop Donnie Williams. And we used to argue and fight all the time until his wife told him, she said, talk about the things in which you agree on and not the ones in which you disagree on. And, we had to throw a little disagreement in there. But we agreed on maybe 50 things and disagreed on 2. And we were fighting over those 2. When we agreed on 50 different things and disagreed on 2. We were just fighting over the 2. And when she told us that, we were sitting there talking. We didn't have another argument because we didn't bring them 2 up until the end. And I said, man, we've been fighting all this time, and all we had to do was do what she said do. Well, we were too busy fighting. We couldn't think of that.
Well, maybe the fact that both of you guys are very competitive, and you guys need something to compete on there. So you say, hey, forget that, so let's just fight.
Yes, sir. We didn't want to fight because both of us could fight really good, so we didn't want to fight each other.
Most definitely, you guys want to do the argument. You just wanted some type of competition, which is good sometimes. It's good to have a good. That's sometimes I find that challenging because of living down south in some of the schools I've taught in the southern part, as well as some of the schools I taught up north. I find it challenging sometimes to have a dialogue, an intellectual dialogue, to talk rationally. And I find it challenging to do, to have, so it's good to find someone you could really argue with and just get you fired up a little bit to make you dig a little bit deeper into finding out new information.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes. Question, how could we, a martial art community today, assist in transforming from what appears to be a nation of violence, spiraling out of control, to a community that migrates toward embracing brotherly love, or if that's possible? So again, let me repeat myself. How could we today assist in transforming the transformation from what appears to be a nation of violence, shooting, cutting, drugs, etc., to a community that migrates to embracing brotherly love?
Well, I think, my brother, we're in the process. Even though we as a people, the majority of us don't know it yet, but we're in the process of actually doing that now, and it's going to grow. We have something out right now called to boycott Thanksgiving, and also to boycott Christmas.
Right.
And our people boycotted Thanksgiving. This people's lost $10.4 billion over Thanksgiving. 10.4 billion. Our people actually stayed at home and did not spend their money because we were saying for Thanksgiving, up with Jesus and down with Santa, and that we were going to hold our resources if to keep our money in our pocket if they're not going to treat us, and particularly it comes from justice or else. If they're not going to treat us right, then we're going to let them feel some of the pain that we feel through not supporting them, as we have been supporting them no matter what. We support them. We're not doing that anymore. If you can't treat us right, we're going to hold back our finances and wait until Christmas get here, brother. When I went down to doing what they call Black Friday,
Yes.
after Thanksgiving, I went down to Walmart, and Walmart is normally packed. There wasn't 8 people in Walmart. I couldn't believe it. I went there to buy an extension cord because I wasn't really supported, but I was shocked. I walked in there and said, "Are you closed?" She said, "No, ma'am." I said, "Is there anything wrong that I need to know?" She says, "No, I don't think so." I said, "Well, there's nobody in the store." She said, "Well, it's that justice or else thing. The people aren't coming in, you know." I said, "Oh, praises due to God." I didn't say it to her, but I said it out loud, you know. But I was so happy, brother. And wait until Christmas. We are not going to support Christmas because what has Santa Claus got to do with Jesus?
Right.
Santa Claus is actually taking the place of Jesus. You don't, I don't hear Jesus' name on Christmas. I only hear Santa Claus' name.
Well, I agree with you. My wife and I, we always discuss this, and it's unfortunate. You know, what happened is I'm sending out cards, and I had my son to make me some cards to send the cards via text, and it had some things on it that I said, "Son, take that off." I said, "That's not what Christmas is about." I said, "We've lost the meaning and understanding of Thanksgiving, of Christmas, etc." You know, there's been some research showing you asking certain people, "What does Christmas mean?" "Oh, that's Santa Claus. That means gifts." "What does Thanksgiving?" They don't have a clue. We're talking about adults of 30 and 40 years old do not even have a clue. So it links directly with racism as it relates to financial issues. And that's a big issue that, I mean, sometimes one could have a discussion also as well. But even forgetting about racism, but as a nation, what we need to do is focus on the true meaning of what we're discussing. And that is, what is Thanksgiving? Who are we giving thanks to? And what really happened? Now we can go back and say, yes, there were some negative things, but regardless of that, we still want to be thankful. And I applaud you and the groups that are attempting to bring attention to the true meaning of Christmas, the true meaning of Thanksgiving. And as far as I care, things like, I can't even think of the day, Valentine's Day and many, many other days, a lot of times people put a lot of support, even though it's not a bigger day or time, but, we really need to focus in on who we are, like you said before, who we are, because I think we're losing track. And as we lose track and get further apart of who we are, we're going to be upset. We're unsteady, and we will start doing the things I'm asking you earlier about violence and all these things, because that's what it relates to, because we're lost, and that doesn't have to do with race. It has something to do with we as individuals, particularly as Americans, we become lost in many ways. Yeah.
I would like to say one more thing about being a
Sure.
Muslim brother. As a person that was in the street before I became a Muslim, I was doing a lot of things that were incorrect, and particularly in dealing with women. And I didn't know. Nobody was telling me, even though I knew that I wasn't supposed to do certain things. But I was not told. When I went to church, I was not told not to do those things when I went to church. I heard the the minister speak on whatever he spoke on for that day. But nobody was in my face telling me, you got to stop that now. But in Islam, they told me, this you cannot do. This you will not do. And I start thinking, you can't smoke, you can't drink, you can't get high, you can't chase women, and you darn sure can't chase men, and all the things. You can't eat pork. And I was saying, man, if I get in this Islam thing, I ain't gonna be able to do nothing. This is what I'm thinking about, But I went on and I got in because that was very interesting. And they said when I got in there, I'm in there for 6 months. They said, well, in 6 months, all these beautiful black women we have in the mosque, you don't see anybody that you could possibly start courting. I had already seen a sister that came down to my karate school, and I did not want her to take karate because I don't date my karate students. And I was afraid that she would take but she was a Muslim sister, and when I started talking to her, and she told me, I asked her, I said, do Muslim women date non-Muslim men? She said, why? And that just took my heart away from me. I didn't know what to say, And then a friend that was taking karate was a Muslim brother. He told me, I asked him about her. He said, Steve, I brought her here for you. I said, what do you mean you brought her here for me? He said, if you're going to become a Muslim, then you're going to need a good Muslim woman. I said, nobody told you I was going to be no Muslim. She asked me to go to the mosque. And naturally I went because I was interested in her. And when I went there, they started telling us about the history of the black man and the black woman and who we were. That was the first time I ever heard something like that, And I said, man, we don't know nothing about ourselves. But everybody in that place seemed to be more intelligent than what I was. I couldn't think. I said, now, how did they become so intelligent? How did they think the way that they think and move the way that they move? And they moved in unity. The men had like a military, not like the white man's military where we carried guns and stuff. You couldn't carry nothing, not even a penknife. You had to have heart. And I found that in being there, that my grandfather had given me that. So there was no problem in having heart. But to have the kind of heart they had to go up and face a gun and didn't have no gun. My grandfather didn't tell me nothing about that. And to walk up on a gun, I would go because they went, which is the same thing I learned in the military. I went with my brothers because I was going to protect them with my life. The same thing I did in the military. I went with my unit because I was going to protect that unit with my life. I did that. I do that now, even in the nation.
Well, well, I think that's amazing. I know. Did you happen to know Malcolm X?
No, I can't put a.
No, Malcolm X from Dorchester, Massachusetts.
Oh, Malcolm X.
Yes, Malcolm X. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I didn't know him personally. I met him one time. We were down in Harlem, and we had just fought down there in a karate tournament. And we were down in Harlem because we had never seen a black community that was like Harlem was at the time in the 60s.
Right.
So we went down there to look at it. And I heard somebody talking and said that, Malcolm X come here every, I think it was Sunday at 8 o'clock in the morning. He drink his coffee, So we said, we would like to meet him. He said, we have to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was the next day because this was Saturday. We showed up at about 10 minutes after 8. We were walking there, and he's Malcolm here. He said, well, he came, but he's gone. He was only there for 5 minutes. That was his, and when he said he would be there for 5 minutes, and he would be there at 8 o'clock, he meant that. At 5 minutes after 8, he was gone. At 8 o'clock, he came in that door. Wow. And so the next day, we were waiting out there about half an hour before he got here. We asked if we could see him, and we met him that day. So I had an opportunity to meet him. But that guy was strict on everything that he did.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. You know, speaking about strict, how do you handle failure?
Handle what now?
How do you handle not achieving your goals? How do you handle failure? Uh, how do you handle if when you set a goal or things just don't work out your way?
What I'm doing now as a mature man. Don't be calling me old either. As a mature man.
I'm working on it.
As a mature man, I teach my students, if there is doubt, there is no doubt. Make another way, or find another way. And there is always another way. The thought of losing, quitting, or having doubt does not exist. In my mind, or the direction in which I choose to go, I am going to be successful. I just started actually working on that. I teach my students. I didn't teach my older students the same thing I'm teaching now. I got this from Islam. And even though they didn't give me those words, this is what I got from them. No matter what you attempt to do, no matter how many roadblocks, you find a way. Because there is no such thing as not being successful if you choose to be successful, but you got to work it. There can be many blocks. A block that will keep you from getting where you want to go, but don't allow it to keep you from getting there. I'm using that now at the age in which I am now because I didn't know it when I was young. So I'm teaching my students that also, that you don't have to fail. There's nothing that they put in front of you. The only thing that you cannot overcome is death. Everything else you can make or find a way. And I feel that way now. And at one time, that was a gift that I did not know up until almost the age that I am now. I never accomplished much, but now I'm trying to accomplish things that I didn't accomplish when I was at an age where the energy was there. But the energy is still there. I still want to do. And one of the things I really want to do is to build the school from the ground up and put all the things in there I choose to put in there for my people and any people who want to come to grow and be successful. But I want to put a library. I want to put videos so I can video all the classes so I can show them their improvement in what they're doing and things that are, and what they're doing that is not likable in the school, and just to see how they train and put a little small restaurant in there to feed them healthy food. And this is something that I shouldn't be talking about, but this is something that I'm looking forward to doing. And before the Creator take me out of here, if He allowed me to live healthy like I'm living now, I'll live a longer time. And that will give me the time to be able to do what I'm working on now.
I think that is fantastic. You know, you mentioned some things about affirmations. I think, yes, affirmations we need to self-insure and say the positive things about ourselves. And in reference to you creating a school, I think would be nice if you were to get those resources, whether it is a grant through the Department of Justice or someone deciding to, hey, you have something going on. So let's help this gentleman out to do what he's doing, because I think it's fantastic with the knowledge that you have and the desire that you have is a wonderful thing. I think a gentleman up toward the Maryland area has done something similar to what you are thinking about doing, starting from scratch. And I wanted to know how he did it, so I called and asked about it. But I'm fortunate. I think sometimes people think you trying to take versus trying to help. But I wish you the best as far as in your endeavors. And if you need, feel free to call and discuss or talk to me. If I can help, just let me know. Okay. Quick question.
Yes, sir.
How do you handle, we mentioned about failure. So let's talk about what is your, in the martial art, what is your greatest experience?
In the martial arts?
Yeah, in the martial arts. Yeah, because I'm going to ask you, I would like to ask you, what is your greatest experience in the martial arts? Then I would like to know, what is your greatest experience outside the martial arts?
Well, I think that the greatest experience in the martial arts, it took me 42 years to create a new and complete science for the science of fighting. If you look at me, my brother, when I make movements, you will see all four of the energies in which I have in my fighting science: Kempo, Wing Chun, Tai Chi, and boxing. You will see all of them, and when I move and I make 3 or 4 movements, you will see all those within those 3 or 4 movements. Not sometimes, every time. It has taken me 42 years to bring the science of fighting into existence. That is now part of me. And because of my understanding of the science of fighting, I have an understanding that this, the speed of thought, the duty of the subconscious, which is to store or retain all information, but in particularly for fighting information. It has the ability to have total recall of that information that you have stored, if you want the mind to do that. But first you have to understand that the mind has that capability. I use what you call brain sight, which is people call eyesight. And I ask people, what do you see with? The average person will say your eyes. But the eyes is the mirror to the brain. The eyes don't really see anything. It is reflecting back what is out there so the brain can recognize it. That is the same thing in fighting. The brain has the ability to recognize objects coming at it at a speed of 24 billion miles per second. I show them that these things are possible and that you don't have to anticipate anything because of the speed of thought. The brain has the ability to pick up. It has the ability to make movements appear slow. I say that to my students, and they question me on it. I said, well, this is the way I can explain it. Is there anything that ever happened to anybody in here where things appeared to be slow? And they'll go, no, just, I heard this lady say, oh, yes. I said, well, what is it? She said, when I was in a traffic accident, everything slowed down. I said, yes, then that ability is there. The brain can actually slow down objects depending on the danger. How can you go about cultivating that into a fighting science? How are you able to do that? If the science is there, why not? And I tell them the Creator says that everything that He created, you can use it on your behalf. Everything. And I said, you have to study self, but you have to study things that are around you. Study self and see what self can do. How beautiful. And I said, the Creator gave you the mind of God. He said, I make you in the image and the likeness of myself. What does that mean? I look like my daddy. People used to tell me, boy, you in the image and likeness of your daddy. And I act like it. So what does that mean to us? I take it literally that I have the mind of God. I can create. Do we have the ability to bring life into existence? Do we have the ability to take life? Yes, we have both of those. That is a God. But we don't really think about that, And, brother, that is the major thing that we have to understand as a people. We are now starting to come together just 2015. All over America, black people are coming together. They're now saying, let's set up businesses for ourselves. Let's do this for self. I know people won't like that because we're talking black talk now. But we will be better people and better friends to them if we become a people ourselves. But first we got to do that. See? And some people don't like it. Not even black folks. They don't like it. You know, I don't want to be around all black people. Well, don't be around all black people. That's fine. That's
You know,
up to you.
it just oftentimes it just show how people condition, and that's the sad thing is that people are actually there. Some are unconditioned, unconscious that they're conditioned, and then some are conscious that they're conditioned, and they don't want to change. They're within a comfort zone, and it's sad. You know, it's sad, and so it's like what you're doing. I think is marvelous. It's a good thing because yes, I agree that if you're looking for, I tell people if you're looking for God, look in the mirror.
Yes,
Look in
sir.
the mirror.
Yes, sir.
Reach deep inside. Think. You have a question, ask. You don't have to speak out. Ask. And that you'll get your answer. And it starts with understanding yourself. I was
That's right.
I explained Maslow hierarchy of needs or thinking, etc. And as I'm talking to people in the education arena, I mentioned to them that first to start off with understanding who you are. That's what learning starts
That's
with.
right.
If
That's
if
right.
we're talking about like competing the IQ test or competing against other individuals, other races, et cetera. And I tell them, start with yourself. First of all, like you just said, affirmation, you got to think positive. Because if you think you lost, you've lost. Okay. You got to put yourself, have a winning attitude. Once you have that winning attitude, you got to find the right strategy. Because too often, I'm sure you hear this all the time. Oh, I'm going to put all the effort. I'm trying. You can try all you want. If you don't have the right strategy, you're wasting your time. And so that's what you're talking, I'm thinking about strategies. We're coming up with strategies because that's what's going to work. We often hear what's smarter, not harder. You work smarter. Therefore, we're more likely to achieve these activities or events in which we're trying to achieve versus just doing it. Study our history. Reach a little bit deeper. Study other people's history. Learn who you are. Once we do that, I agree with you. As it taking you 40, 50, how many years it may have taken, but you've arrived there, and now you have a message that you want to share with people, and that's a blessing within itself. Yeah, yeah. Um, I saw that you were in law enforcement for 27 years. I also took a peep at your site, and I noticed that you have a video out. Actually, you have a couple of videos. If I'm not mistaken, what is it called? Actuality? Is that what it is called?
Oh,
The
you're talking about actualized. They said the
actualized.
talking power.
Is that what it is?
Actualized and talking. Well, one of them is actualized and one of them is talking power. And
Oh,
that's
okay.
the base of the starting. Well, not the starting, but information on becoming a Sijo. I had to
Oh,
do I had to do that uh, before I became a Sijo. I had to do those tapes because the great grandmasters who gave me the proclamation to be Sijo, they came and watched me. Man, it was a long trial. I did that going through teaching for them for 6 months. They
right,
set up seminars for me to go to.
right,
And I did
right.
that for 6 months before they decided that they would give me uh, the title of procedure.
I understand. I'm going through a similar situation as you're speaking. I'm being evaluated. I have been evaluated. I have tested. I'm still being evaluated, and I think that's the right process to do versus saying, "Hey, sometimes we give titles to people without really, evaluating if the person has not just the skill." Because too often, I mentioned before, people think a grandmaster is someone that can win a tournament or can beat someone up. I mean, to be a master or sorry, a grandmaster or a soji, whatever it may be, is you have to be able to articulate and have scientific or not only just scientific, scientific understanding of what you're doing, whether it is rational or empirical. You need to have both in order to be able to, to explain your situation. So I think that's good. It has merit. So uh, um, you do have books out. Which books do you have out that you've written?
It's called Championship Karate, which was the first one. It's about, I don't know, probably 30 years old, not longer, older than that.
Okay, because had a dialogue once before with someone and said there was only a few, actually African Black Americans who had actually published books in the martial arts, and your name came up. I'm fortunate. I can't say a reason why many haven't just produce their books, whatever, to share their knowledge and their experience. But again, thank you for putting out that book. Now, if someone wanted to get in contact with you, what is the best method to do so? Do you think maybe email or just visit your website, or what would be the best method to contact you?
There is an email, but I can also give them a number.
Oh, please, if you would.
That number is 404-787-2868.
Okay, thank you. Again, that was 404-787-2868. Yeah. And you have a website. I think it's called is it dbkf.org? Is that the site?
There is a site, but I also have an email. They can email me.
Okay.
And that's Sijo, Sijo,
okay.
Muhammad, Muhammad, @gmail.com.
Okay. I'm sure many would love to be able to get in contact with you, because I think that you would be an excellent consultant or a person of contact with tons of knowledge and, I would say, wisdom. Knowledge is one thing, but wisdom is what you want. And the difference between the knowledge and wisdom, in case some don't know, is being able to use that knowledge, being able one who have that experience, and know how, just like you said, your system, how it all ties in together, and you have 4 or 5 systems working together, but you move those systems as one, which is amazing.
That's right.
Yeah. But, I really appreciate you taking time, sir, and speaking with us here at martialartsnow.com. We'll come to the close, and again, we want to thank you for all the years that you've contributed to the martial arts. We wish that you could contribute many, 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 many more years in the martial arts. Would you like to have any last words?
Oh, my brother, I thank you for the honor of being able to speak about my experience in the martial arts and what I have experienced through the years. And it isn't very often that we get to express what we would like to express without someone saying, "Oh, you can't say that," or "Oh, you can't do that." But you allowed me to say what I choose to say tonight, and I really thank you for that. And I thank you very much, my brother.
And I appreciate you being honest and speaking from the heart. I always have taken you as being a man that's going to speak from the heart, because that's where you find the answer. The answer's in the heart. Okay? Because that's where it bleeds from the heart. And I thank you. Well, we're coming to a close. You've heard it. I am Pedro Bennett, the founder of martialartsnow.com. You just heard it from Josie Muhammad, often Steve Muhammad. And stay tuned until the next time. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.